All right, diving in today, we're looking at Gaudiya Vaishnava groups,
Okay.
specifically the Science of Identity Foundation, SIF,
Yeah.
founded by Chris Butler,
Right.
and we're going to be exploring SIF's relationship with other Gaudiya Vaishnava communities and why some SIF members left and joined these other groups.
It's really a story that unfolds like a puzzle with pieces from all these different sources, like court documents, news articles, and even like online forums.
Okay, so unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
What is it about this story that's so intriguing?
Well, you have these former SIF members like Krishna Karunya Das,
Okay.
formerly known as Mahabhava Das within SIF,
Yeah.
and the late Emeric Mazur,
Right.
who went by Madhavananda Das, and before that Mahai Das in SIF.
Hmm.
Both of them, along with others, left SIF and joined B.V. Narayana Maharaj's group,
Okay.
which raises questions about what might have prompted this shift.
So let's start with Chris Butler and the Science of Identity Foundation.
Okay.
Who is this guy? And how did SIF come to be?
Well, Chris Butler,
Yeah.
also known by his spiritual name, Jagat Guru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, he has quite a history back in the 1970s in Hawaii.
Okay.
He was really drawn to the teachings of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada,
Right.
the founder of ISKCON.
Yeah, the Hare Krishnas.
Yeah, Hare Krishnas.
Yeah.
He even traded his own group of followers to become Prabhupada's initiated disciple.
Wow.
That's how he received the name Siddhasvarupananda.
That's some serious dedication.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, from what I've read, his relationship with Prabhupada wasn't always smooth sailing.
You're right.
Yeah.
Butler sometimes clashed with Prabhupada over his interpretations of the teachings
Okay.
and his questioning of some traditional practices.
So kind of an independent streak.
Yeah, and this independent streak eventually led him to break away from ISKCON and establish SIF.
So how is SIF different from ISKCON?
Well, one of the key distinctions lies in this concept of Guru Dev, which is central to SIF.
Right.
The Guru Dev is like the ultimate spiritual authority,
Mm.
the guide and teacher.
Okay.
In SIF, Chris Butler occupies that role.
So that's a position of immense power and influence, it seems like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that power kind of extends beyond spiritual matters.
Uh-huh.
SIF has been quite active in Hawaiian politics,
Interesting.
even forming their own political party,
Really?
the Independence for Godly Government,
Wow.
back in the 70s.
They formed a political party.
Yeah,
That's quite a step for a spiritual organization.
it is.
Hmm.
And their political involvement becomes even more interesting when you look at the Gabbard family.
Oh, yeah, the Gabbard.
Mike Gabbard,
Right.
a former state senator,
Uh-huh.
his wife Carol,
Okay.
who served on the Board of Education, and
Right.
their daughter,
Tulsi.
Tulsi, a former U.S. representative,
Yeah, that's right.
they've all had ties to SIF.
Wow, the Gabbards. That's a pretty prominent family in Hawaiian politics.
Yeah.
But I thought Mike Gabbard denied allegiance to Butler and claimed to be Catholic.
He has. However, there's evidence that suggests otherwise,
Okay.
including campaign contributions.
Interesting.
It's reported that a staggering 95% of his campaign donations came directly from SIF members.
That's pretty strong indication of a connection, I would say.
It certainly raises questions about the extent of their involvement with SIF.
Yeah.
And this is just one layer of the story.
Yeah.
There have been accusations that SIF accepted funds from pro-choice lobbyists to support Tulsi Gabbard's campaigns,
Okay.
despite the group's stated anti-abortion stance.
So a bit of a contradiction there.
Yes.
Okay, so we have this powerful guru figure,
Right.
politically active organization,
Yeah.
and some swirling controversy.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
This is where we start to see some cracks emerge.
Okay.
Remember those online forums we mentioned?
Yeah.
Well, some of the posts are from former SIF members who left to join other Gaudiya Vaishnava groups, specifically B.V. Narayana Maharaj's organization.
So they left Butler's group and went to follow a different guru.
Yeah,
That's a pretty significant move.
it is.
What would lead them to do that?
Well, the letters we've seen offer some compelling insights.
Okay.
Some former members expressed feelings of disillusionment with SIF, claiming that the teachings lacked depth
Yeah.
and didn't provide a complete understanding of Gaudiya Vaishnavism.
So they wanted more.
Yeah.
They wanted something a little bit more in-depth, it sounds like.
They craved a more profound exploration of the philosophy.
So they were seeking a richer spiritual experience.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They felt drawn to the teachings of other gurus, like B.B. Narayana Maharaja, who led a prominent Gaudiya Vaishnava organization.
So this is where the story starts to get really interesting.
Yeah.
We're seeing a pattern of devotees leaving SIF to seek deeper meaning and guidance elsewhere.
Right.
But there's more to uncover.
Absolutely.
Right.
SIF hasn't only faced departing devotees, but also a series of accusations and legal troubles, including allegations of financial irregularities, fraud, and even child abuse.
Really?
At a SIF-run school in the Philippines.
Wow. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound less like a spiritual journey and more like a true crime thriller.
It does, a little bit.
Yeah. So who are the key players in these allegations?
Well, one name that stands out is Joseph Bismarck,
Okay.
also known as Japadas,
Oh, right.
in SIF circles.
We touched on him earlier,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
He ended up being arrested for his involvement with QNet,
Yes.
the alleged pyramid scheme.
That's right.
It's like those documentaries where just when you think you figured it out, there's another twist.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's unravel this QNet thread a bit further.
Okay.
What exactly is QNet and why is it so controversial?
Well, QNet is a multi-level marketing company, or MLM, with a global presence.
Right.
They sell a variety of products, ranging from wellness items to travel packages. The issue is, QNet has been accused of operating as a pyramid scheme in multiple countries.
A pyramid, you mean where people earn money by recruiting others rather than actually selling products?
Precisely. And that's where the waters get murky.
Yeah.
Pyramid schemes are illegal in many places because they're inherently unsustainable and often leave participants in financial ruin.
So we have QNet, this alleged pyramid scheme with a history of legal troubles.
Yeah.
We have Joseph Bismarck, a former SIF devotee, who becomes a co-owner of QNet.
Yes.
And then we have Vijayaeswaran.
Right.
How does he fit into all of this?
Well, Vijayaeswaran is the founder of QNet.
Okay.
He's a charismatic figure, viewed by some as a successful entrepreneur and by others as a controversial figure due to his involvement with QNet's business practices.
Okay, so we have these three individuals, Butler, Bismarck, and Eswaran.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out how they're connected. So our sources point to some interesting financial ties between SIF and QNet.
Okay.
So think about Down to Earth.
Yeah.
The well-known vegetarian grocery chain in Hawaii. It turns out that Down to Earth is owned by QI Group.
Interesting.
A company associated with QNet.
Okay.
And SIF has financial ties to Healthies, Inc., the parent company of Down to Earth.
Right.
Wait a minute. So Chris Butler's SIF is financially linked to a company owned by the founder of QNet.
Right.
Which a former C member, Bismarck, also co-owns.
Yeah.
That's quite a revelation.
It is. And this is just one instance of these complex financial relationships we found in the sources.
Okay.
SIF's 2012 tax return, for example, shows that they profited significantly from selling Healthies Inc. stock.
Interesting.
They'd previously reported receiving a large donation of Healthies Inc. shares back in 2004.
This is starting to resemble one of those like conspiracy theory boards, you know, with all of the strings connecting different photos and notes.
Right.
But these are actual connections involving real money.
Absolutely.
This is fascinating.
It becomes even more intriguing when you consider Joseph Bismarck's background.
Okay.
He's mentioned having a challenging childhood, running away at 9 years old, and ending up at a seminary-type school in the Philippines.
And that school was run by SIF, right?
That's what the sources suggest.
The one with those allegations of child abuse?
Yes.
Okay.
Bismarck describes himself as a vegetarian monk during his time at the school. He even listed the Science of Identity University as his education on his social media.
The Science of Identity University?
Yeah.
Is that an actual university?
That's unclear. However, Bismarck has publicly identified himself as a student of Chris Butler.
Interesting.
And remember that SIF flyer for a 2017 meditation event?
Yeah.
It lists Bismarck as a student of Jagadguru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, one of Chris Butler's spiritual names.
So Bismarck, this QNet co-owner, was a SIF devotee, attended a SIF school, is publicly associated with Butler.
Yes.
That's a strong connection.
It is.
Okay.
And it raises further questions about the relationship between SIF and QNet.
Right.
Is it purely financial, or is there more to the story?
This entire situation is, it's mind-boggling.
It is.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else might be happening behind the scenes.
Right.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
We still need to discuss Patrick Bowler.
Yes.
The former SIF member involved in drug trafficking?
Ah, yes, Patrick Bowler,
Sure.
or Paramahamsa Das, as he was known within SIF.
Okay.
His story is as captivating and troubling as Bismarck's.
So, from what we've gathered, Bowler was a major figure in an international drug smuggling operation.
He operated under many aliases,
Oh, wow.
including the Guru and Top Hat.
Top Hat.
Yeah. Court documents indicate his involvement in smuggling vast quantities of hashish and marijuana into the United States.
And this is the same individual who was sponsoring the SIF school in Baguio.
The very same.
Sir,
It's a bewildering connection, isn't it?
a convicted drug trafficker linked to a spiritual organization that operates a school for children.
Yeah.
This whole thing is just, I'm at a loss for words.
It is a perplexing mix of contradictions and unsettling connections.
What are we to make of all this?
That's the crucial question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've presented the facts, the connections, the accusations.
Right.
Now it's up to you to decide what it all means.
Well, I think it's safe to say that SIF is far more than just a spiritual group.
Yeah.
They've got their hands in politics, business,
Right.
and even some highly questionable dealings.
Yeah.
And Chris Butler's influence seems to be at the center of it all.
It's a stark reminder that even organizations promoting peace and enlightenment can be vulnerable to corruption and the misuse of power.
And for those seeking spiritual guidance within SIF,
Yeah.
it seems like a potentially risky path, you know?
Like that.
Yeah, full of contradictions and unanswered questions.
Right.
So what should our listeners be thinking about based on all of this?
Well, it's a reminder that seeking spiritual growth and community requires careful consideration and discernment.
Yeah.
We shouldn't shy away from asking difficult questions
Right.
and critically examining the beliefs and practices of any group,
Yeah.
especially one with such a complex and controversial history.
Absolutely. It's about empowering ourselves to make informed decisions.
Right.
And not simply accepting things at face value.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot more to unravel in this story.
There is.
Okay.
Let's dig deeper into these accusations against SIF.
Okay.
Remember, we're not here to judge, but to present what's in the sources.
Right.
And let you draw your own conclusion.
Yeah, we're just laying out the pieces of this puzzle.
Yeah.
And some of these pieces are, well, pretty dark.
Right.
We've got allegations of financial misconduct,
Uh-huh.
fraud,
Yeah.
and then those really disturbing reports of child abuse at that SIF school in the Philippines.
It's important to note that these accusations come from various sources,
Okay.
including former SIF members, news reports, and court documents.
Right.
So, for instance, let's consider the case of Joseph Bismarck.
Okay. Right.
You know, once a devoted SIF member known as Japadas.
Right. We touched on his story a little bit earlier.
Yes.
He ended up being arrested for his involvement with QNet,
Exactly.
that alleged pyramid scheme.
Right.
So this raises several questions.
Yeah.
What was his role in SIF before he left?
Right.
How did his path lead him to QNet?
Yeah.
And is there any connection between these two organizations?
Ask the question.
Yeah, it's like those documentaries where you think you've got it figured out and then there's a new twist.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unravel this QNet thread a bit further.
Okay.
What exactly is QNet and why is it so controversial?
Well, QNet is a multi-level marketing company,
Okay.
MLM,
Right.
with a global presence.
Right.
They sell a variety of products, ranging from like wellness items to travel packages. But the issue is, QNet has been accused of operating as a pyramid scheme in multiple countries.
A pyramid scheme, you mean where people earn money by recruiting others rather than actually selling products?
Precisely.
Okay.
And that's where the waters get murky.
Yeah.
Pyramid schemes are illegal in many places because they're inherently unsustainable
Right.
and often leave participants in financial ruin.
Okay, so we have QNet, this alleged pyramid scheme,
Right.
with the history of legal troubles.
Yeah.
We have Joseph Bismarck,
Yeah.
a former SIF devotee who becomes a QNet co-owner.
Right.
And then how does Vijay Iswaran fit into this?
Vijay Iswaran is the founder of QNet.
Okay.
He's kind of this charismatic figure,
Yeah.
you know, viewed by some as a successful entrepreneur,
Okay.
but viewed by others as a controversial figure due to his involvement with QNet's business practices.
So we've got these three individuals, Butler, Bismarck, Iswaran.
Right.
And now we got to figure out how they're all connected. And our sources point to some interesting financial ties between SIF and QNet.
Okay.
So think about Down to Earth,
Yeah.
that well-known vegetarian grocery chain in Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
It turns out Down to Earth is owned by QI Group.
Interesting.
which is a company associated with QNet. And SIF has financial ties to Healthies, Inc.,
Okay.
the parent company of Down to Earth.
Right.
Wait a minute, so Chris Butler's SIF is financially linked to a company owned by the founder of QNet,
Right.
which a former SIF member, Bismarck, also co-owns.
Yes, it's
That's quite the tangled web.
It is. It's quite a revelation.
Yeah.
And this is just one instance of these complex financial relationships we found in the sources. For example, SIF's 2012 tax return shows that they profited significantly from selling Healthies, Inc. stock.
Interesting.
They previously reported receiving a large donation of Healthies, Inc. shares back in 2004.
So it's starting to feel like one of those, like conspiracy theory boards with all the strings connecting photos and notes. Sure.
But this is, with real money.
These are actual connections involving real money.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It gets even more intriguing when you consider Joseph Bismarck's background.
Okay.
He's mentioned having a challenging childhood.
Okay.
Running away at 9 years old.
Wow.
And ending up at a, seminary-type school in the Philippines.
And that school was run by SIF, right?
That's what the sources suggest.
The one with the child abuse allegation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bismarck describes himself as a vegetarian monk during his time at the school.
Okay.
He even listed the Science of Identity University as his education on his social media.
The Science of Identity University?
Yeah.
Is that an actual university?
It's unclear.
Okay.
However, Bismarck has publicly identified himself as a student of Chris Butler.
Interesting.
And remember that SIF flyer for that
Yeah.
2017 meditation event?
Right.
It lists Bismarck as a student of Jagadguru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa, one of Chris Butler's spiritual names.
So Bismarck.
His QNet co-owner.
Yeah.
Was in SIF devotee, attended in SIF school,
Right.
and is publicly associated with Butler.
Yes.
That's a strong connection.
It is a strong connection.
Okay.
And it raises further questions about the relationship between SIF and QNet.
Yeah.
Is it purely financial, or is there more to the story?
This is all, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It is. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what else might be happening behind the scenes.
Right.
Okay, well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
We still need to discuss Patrick Bowler.
Right, Patrick Bowler, or Paramahamsa Das, as he was known in SIF.
Yeah.
His story is as captivating and troubling as Bismarck's.
So from what we've gathered, Bowler was a major figure in an international drug smuggling operation.
Yeah, he operated under many aliases.
Really?
Including the Guru and Top Hat.
Top Hat? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Court documents actually indicate his involvement in smuggling vast quantities of hashish and marijuana into the United States.
And this is the same individual who sponsored the SIF school in Baguio.
The very same.
Seriously.
It's a bewildering connection, isn't it?
A convicted drug trafficker linked to a spiritual organization that operates a school for children?
Yeah, it's
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, it's hard to make sense of it.
This whole thing, it's just, I'm at a loss for words.
It is a perplexing mix of contradictions and unsettling connections.
What are we to make of all of this?
That's the crucial question.
Yeah.
We've presented the facts, the connections, the accusations.
Right.
Now it's up to you to decide what it all means.
Well, I think it's safe to say that SIF is far more than just a spiritual group.
It seems that way.
Yeah, they've got their hands in politics,
Mm-hmm.
business,
Right.
and even some highly questionable dealings.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
And Chris Butler's influence seems to be at the center of it all.
It's a stark reminder that even organizations that promote peace and enlightenment can be vulnerable to corruption and the misuse of power.
And for those seeking spiritual guidance within SIF,
Right.
it just seems like potentially a risky path.
It does.
Yeah, full of contradictions and unanswered questions.
Right.
So what should our listeners be thinking about based on all of this?
Well, I think it's a reminder that seeking spiritual growth and community requires careful consideration and discernment.
Yeah.
We shouldn't shy away from asking those difficult questions.
Right.
And critically examining the beliefs and practices of any group,
Yeah.
especially one with such a complex and controversial history.
Absolutely. It's about empowering ourselves to make informed decisions,
Right.
not just taking things at face value.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it seems like there's a lot more to unravel in this story.
There's much more to uncover.
Okay.
So before we wrap up this section, there's one more piece of this puzzle I think we need to examine.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about Seth's deep involvement in Hawaiian politics?
Right.
Particularly through the Gabbard family?
Yeah, that's right.
It's a key aspect of understanding Sif's influence and reach.
Right.
Well, it turns out there's another individual
Right.
who played a pretty significant role in Sif's political activities. A man named Sunil Khamenei.
Sunil Khamenei. Okay, tell me more.
He's an interesting character.
Yeah.
Khamenei has been described as, like, Butler's right-hand man.
Okay.
His ninja. Even he appears to have been deeply involved in Sif's operations since, like, the 80s and 90s.
So going way back.
Yeah, way back.
What was his role in Sif's political endeavors?
Well, Khamenei was instrumental in the formation and operation of Independence for Godly Government.
Right.
That Sif-backed political party.
That we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that we discussed earlier. So he was kind of working behind the scenes, orchestrating things.
Yeah, that's the impression we get, right? From the sources. Former Sif members recall seeing him at events, always on the phone, seemingly relaying instructions from Butler.
So he was a key player in Sif's efforts to gain political influence.
Definitely.
And his connections extend beyond Hawaii.
Okay.
Khamenei is also a prominent figure in the Overseas Friends of BJP.
The OFBJP.
Yeah.
Isn't that a group that supports India's ruling party, the BJP?
That's right. It's this global organization that promotes the BJP's ideology and agenda.
So this adds like a whole new layer to the story.
It does.
We've already established Sif's connections to QNet and its founder, Vijay Azaran, who is based in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Now we see a link to a group that supports the ruling party in India.
It's like Sif is weaving this elaborate web of influence that spans continents and delves into politics, business, and spirituality.
It's a fascinating and multifaceted story.
It is.
And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
Yeah, it's
really intriguing.
It's a lot to unpack.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least.
It has been.
We've uncovered this network of relationships and allegations. That's both intriguing and disturbing.
It raises questions about the nature of faith. The allure of charismatic leaders.
Right.
And the potential for corruption.
Yeah.
Even within organizations that claim to pursue higher ideals.
For those seeking spiritual guidance, it's a reminder of the importance of critical thinking, discernment, and the courage to question authority.
Well said.
Yeah.
Before we conclude this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I think it's worth reflecting on a particular incident involving Sunil Khamenei and Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay, this should be interesting.
Back in 2014, Gabbard attended an OFBJP event where Khamenei introduced her to the audience.
Okay.
And he referred to her as his team member. And spoke about how he'd been like an uncle to her since childhood.
So that further solidifies that close relationship.
It does.
Between Gabbard, Khamenei, and by extension, Shafif.
Exactly. And it demonstrates that interconnectedness of Sif's political activities, both within Hawaii and on a global scale.
It's all starting to come together now.
It is.
But before we get too deep into the geopolitical implications of Sif's activities, let's shift our focus back to the individuals who have been impacted by this organization when we return. We'll delve further into the accusations against Sif. Explore the stories of those who left. And try to make sense of this complex web of allegiances. Okay, we're back.
Back again.
And ready to unpack more of these unsettling accusations against Sif. It's clear that this group has been involved in some questionable activities, to say the least.
What's striking is the range of accusations that have surfaced over the years. We have former members alleging financial impropriety, claims of fraud, and those disturbing reports of child abuse at the Sif school in Borneo.
And it's crucial to remember that these accusations come from multiple independent sources. Which adds, a layer of credibility to them.
It does.
So let's start with the financial side of things. Some former Sif members describe this culture of financial pressure within the organization. They claim that devotees were constantly encouraged to donate money to Sif. Often to the point of hardship. There are even accounts of members being asked to take out loans or max out credit cards to contribute.
Wow, that's intense.
It seems like there was a lot of pressure to financially support Butler and his organization.
That's the picture painted by the sources. And these financial practices, combined with Sif's complex business dealings and links to QNet, certainly raise red flags. Okay,
so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the child abuse allegations at the Baguio school. These are deeply disturbing and need serious attention.
They do.
What exactly has been reported?
Well, several former students have come forward with accounts of physical and emotional abuse at the school. They describe a very harsh environment where punishment was common, and children were often subjected to humiliating treatment.
It's heartbreaking to hear about these vulnerable children who were sent to this school, often far from their families, seeking, spiritual guidance and education.
And it's particularly concerning when you consider that Patrick Bowler, a convicted drug trafficker, was a sponsor of the school.
It's unbelievable.
What kind of oversight existed?
Right.
What were those responsible for the children's well-being doing?
Yeah, it's a nightmare scenario for parents who entrusted their children to SIF's care.
Absolutely.
These allegations, they require a thorough investigation.
They do.
And accountability.
Absolutely. These are serious crimes, and the victims deserve justice.
Yeah.
And beyond the legal implications, these accusations point to a broader issue, the potential for abuse within organizations that wield significant power over their members.
Right. When you have a charismatic leader like Chris Butler, who's revered as a guru dev, it can create an atmosphere where dissent is silenced and questionable practices are overlooked.
Yeah, it's a classic example of the dynamics of power and the dangers of blind faith.
It's important to acknowledge, though, that not everyone involved with SIF had a negative experience.
Right.
Some former members speak fondly of their time in the organization.
Yeah.
And they credit Butler's teachings with helping them.
It's an important point.
Yeah.
It's crucial to recognize the diversity of experiences within any group.
Right.
Especially one as large and complex as SIF.
Right. So there are undoubtedly individuals who found solace, community, and meaning through their involvement with SIF.
Right.
But the presence of these positive experiences doesn't negate the very real harm that others have allegedly suffered.
Exactly. We can't just dismiss the accusations of those who've spoken out against SIF.
Right.
Their voices deserve to be heard, and their claims deserve investigation.
So we have these serious allegations, but we also have former SIF members who left the organization. And they are speaking out.
Yes.
What are they saying?
Their stories offer a really valuable glimpse into the inner workings of SIF.
Okay.
And the reasons why some devotees chose to leave.
Okay.
Many describe this kind of gradual process of disillusionment, a growing feeling that something wasn't quite right.
So, they slowly started to see the cracks in the facade.
Precisely.
Okay.
Some former members felt that SIF's teachings became increasingly dogmatic and controlling.
Right.
They felt pressured to conform to these strict rules and avoid any contact with the outside world.
That sounds really isolating.
It was for some.
Yeah.
Others felt that SIF's emphasis on Chris Butler's authority hindered their own spiritual growth.
Oh, okay.
They desired to explore different paths and connect with other teachers and traditions.
Right. And remember those letters we talked about earlier?
Yes.
From former SIF members who joined other Gaudiya Vaishnava groups? They felt that SIF's teachings were incomplete and sought a deeper understanding of the philosophy.
Exactly. And those letters highlight the role of Akarya Das, also known as Alan Tibby, in exposing some members to a wider range of Vaishnava teachings. Tibby's connections to other communities and his willingness to delve into more nuanced aspects of the tradition seemed to have sparked a spiritual awakening for some devotees.
It's fascinating how these individual journeys intersect with the larger story of SIF. And its evolution. Each person's experience adds a unique piece to the puzzle.
It does.
Helping us understand the complexities of this organization and its impact on people's lives.
Right. It reminds us that even within these seemingly monolithic groups, there's always a diversity of thought, belief, and experience. And it's a testament to the human spirit's capacity for seeking truth, meaning, and connection.
Right.
Even when those pursuits lead down unexpected paths.
So this deep dive has been quite a ride.
It has.
We've encountered charismatic leaders, devoted followers, political maneuvering, financial intrigue, and disturbing accusations.
Yes, a lot to consider.
What are we to take away from all this?
I think it's a cautionary tale. A reminder that even organizations espousing these lofty ideals can be susceptible to corruption, abuse of power, and the dangers of unquestioning loyalty.
It's a reminder that critical thinking, discernment, and the courage to question authority are essential.
Absolutely.
Whether we're talking about spiritual groups, political movements,
Yeah.
or any organization that seeks to influence our beliefs and behaviors.
Exactly. It's about empowering ourselves to make informed decisions.
Right.
Recognize warning signs, and protect ourselves and others from potential harm.
And perhaps it's also a reminder of the importance of compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
The individuals involved in this story, both those accused and those who have made accusations,
Right.
they're complex human beings with their own motivations, experiences, and struggles.
It's easy to get caught up in the sensational aspects of the story,
Right.
but it's crucial to remember that real lives are affected.
Absolutely.
There are allegations of serious harm.
Yeah.
And those allegations deserve to be taken seriously.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's worth leaving our listener with a question to ponder.
Okay.
In a world of competing ideologies, charismatic leaders, and a constant influx of information,
Right.
how do we navigate the complexities of belief, belonging, and the search for truth?
It's a question each of us must grapple with, both individually and collectively. And while there may not be any easy answers, the process of questioning, seeking understanding, and engaging in this open and honest dialogue is essential to our individual and collective growth.
Well said. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Chris Butler and the Science of Identity Foundation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a journey. And we hope it's left you with a desire to explore these complex issues further.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep seeking